heard it. Ready, set, go. But today I'm going to make that even more powerful. And in fact, I'd like to invite you all to join me in saying it throughout my talk. Can we do that? Excellent, thank you, because it's more than just a race day starter. It's actually a mindset that we can all use. So here's how it's going to work. When I say, are you, you're going to say, ready. Let's try it. Are you?
Ready.
Excellent. And when I say, what's the key? You're going to say, mindset. What's the key?
Mindset.
Oh, you guys are awesome. And when I say at the very end, now what? You're going to say go with energy and action like you're taking off from the start line. Now what?
Go!
Excellent. Thank you so much for being part of this with me. Because ready is when we've made the decision that we're no longer sitting on the fence. And mindset, that's where we breathe. We calm the noise and we focus on what really matters. And go, that's where we take action. The adrenaline kicks in. We find courage, even if fear is in our gut. Because fear is something that we all face. But courage is a choice. So thank you so much, Seattle, for having me here today. If you can't tell, I'm super excited. My name is Jennie Milton, but they call me Adrenogen. Like Adrenaline Jennie, because I've been chasing adrenaline as an extreme sports athlete all my life. I mean, I love to ski big mountains, and I love to kite surf in the big waves. And I love doing my favourite sport of snow kiting in the big, windy storms. Now, for those of you who've never heard of snow kiting before, it's a combination of kite surfing and skiing. We actually use kites to tow us with our skis and snowboard on. You start off on the flats, but eventually they can take you up the mountain. It's like having your own personal ski lift. Now, I know what you all must be thinking, especially if you've seen my pictures on my social media. She must be fearless. But here's the truth. I wasn't born brave. In fact, I was a total scaredy cat. I mean, my mum tells the embarrassing stories of me learning to ride a bike. And she tells me that my dad used to hang onto the back of my seat of my bike and run up and down the road with me yelling, "Don't let go, don't let go." I mean, I was the last kid on my block to take the training wheels off my bike, and I definitely wasn't the youngest. She's got many stories to share. But here's what I learned. We don't need to be born brave. We can actually build it. One step, one risk, and one choice at a time. Now, let me ask you a question. What are you afraid of? Now, when people hear my Aussie accent, they always answer, oh, spiders, snakes, sharks. Yeah, and rightly so, we do have a lot of those in Australia. Let me tell you about this one spider. It's called the huntsman. They're very common. But I mean, think about it. Huntsman. No wonder people are terrified of this thing. And it's about the size of your hand. It's hairy and it's fast, and you find them everywhere. The worst is when they're on the ceiling of the bedroom, right when it's time to go to sleep. Right? I mean, how do we turn fear into action? Right? Are you?
Ready.
Excellent, thank you. So every Australian gets taught at a young age, after our dads get frustrated doing it for us, that you need two things. You need one, courage, and two, a Tupperware container, right? You grab that container and a magazine and you climb up on the bed like a warrior, and then when you're ready, you trap that spider in the container, and then you carefully slide the magazine over the top and flip it over. and then very carefully carry it outside, right? I don't want to kill it, and let it go. But you know what? Fear is like that. It keeps coming back, right? But the more that we deal with fear, the better we get at handling it. Now, when I decided that I was going to come and speak in front of you all today, I thought, what story am I going to share? What do these ladies need to hear? And I decided I would tell you a story I've never shared before. There was a time in my life when I thought life wasn't worth living. As I said, I've never told this before on the stage. It's really hard to admit, right? From the outside, it looked like I had it all. I had the successful business, I had the house with the swimming pool, and even the shiny sports car in the driveway. I mean, I was ticking all the boxes on the way to happiness. But on the inside, I was drowning. Diagnosed with clinical depression, I was terrified of the thoughts in my head, afraid that one day I might actually act upon them. And add to that the shame, the self-loathing, and the belief that I was totally unlovable. Now, maybe you've never been in that exact place, but I've heard from some ladies today that have, and I bet you we all know somebody who's been in that place before. I did everything that they told us to do, right? I did the group sessions, I did the therapy, I did the medication, but nothing was working. I was so sad. But then something unexpected happened. I decided that I would take a trip to go heli skiing in Alaska for my birthday. I mean, it's a dream come true for any advanced skier. When I got there, the mountains were just so incredible. The skiing was world class, and the women I met up in Alaska, they were badass. I mean, they were so cool. The local women there, some of them lived in houses with no running water because the pipes would freeze in the wintertime. They went out and chopped wood to provide heat. They were living with grit and joy. I mean, they fished, they hunted, anything to look after themselves. They were so full of life, and I remember thinking, this is what being alive really looks like. And at that moment, something cracked open inside me, and I realised that I was actually living a life that was designed by somebody else. I mean, the business, the house, the sports car, none of it was mine. It was a costume, a prison dressed as success. I was so worried about remembering that line now. I've just forgotten where I was up to, but it was a prison dressed as success. So I made the biggest decision of my life. I walked away from it all. It took nearly 2 years, but I sold nearly everything. And I flew here to Seattle. The last time I was here, I flew to Seattle with my mountain bike, a snowboard, and a kite in a box. And I rode that mountain bike up and down the streets of Seattle, and I bought myself an RV. And I drove north to Alaska with a bucket list of all the wild things I wanted to do. Now, was it scary, travelling on my own in a big RV, driving on the wrong side of the road? Yeah, sometimes it was scary. Was it lonely? Yeah, sometimes it was lonely. But here's what happened. After a while, I became my own best friend. I mean, we liked the same music. We listened to Pink and Miley. We loved doing the same adventures. And I started ticking off all of the things on my bucket list. I mean, we skied mountains, remote mountains with no names. We parked under the northern lights. And I found joy. Not the surface type of joy, but the soul deep joy that you only get when you build yourself back up from the ground up. Now, I stopped taking the antidepressants while I was on that trip, and the tears stopped too. And for the first time, I started to love the woman that I was becoming. I ended up driving that RV back to the place where I went heli skiing that first time, and I parked at the base of the mountains there, helicopters landing outside my RV door, and it was winter time, so I had no running water. I had no heat because I'd run out of propane. I had a good sleeping bag though, and I had no regrets. So all of a sudden, that badass woman was now me. Thank you, thank you. Now, here's the truth that I came here to share with you today. That sometimes the biggest storm of our lives is the one that no one can see, right? And we don't need to be feelers all the time. We just need to find courage even when we're shaking. We need to rewrite our story and design a life that feels like ours, right? You don't have to move to Alaska in an RV, but you do need to listen to that voice inside your head that whispers, there's more than this. Because that voice, that's not fear calling. That's not fear talking. It's your future calling. So listen. Now, I ended up back at the RV in Alaska at the heli ski operation, like I said. So let me share with you the first time that I actually went heli skiing. It was so cool. You jump in the helicopter, it flies you up to the mountains, and I landed on this steep ridge line. We got out, the helicopter flies off, and for a few moments I stood there, just in awe of the view, the power of the mountains. I felt like I was on top of the world. And then Jerry, the heli ski guide, goes, okay, everybody, get your gear on. And instantly, the fear washed over me. Oh my gosh, how am I going to get down? Am I good enough? The what if started. What if I fall? What if there's an avalanche? What if I need a rescue? Luckily, I heard Jerry on my radio again, which broke the thoughts. Okay, Jen, your turn. I scooted close to the edge. Oh my gosh, it was so steep. And I was shaking, I was sweating, I was terrified. I was also excited. I told a few of you earlier there's a word terror-sighted. Terror-sighted, it's halfway between terrified and excited. And then I heard Jerry on the radio again. 3, 2, 1, go. Now what? Go! Okay, so I jumped in. There was no time for hesitation. I did a couple of cautious turns. And to be honest with you, this photo was taken on the exact run that I'm telling you about. I had my snowboard on, I did a couple of cautious turns, there was some powder flying over my head, and then, I don't quite know what happened next. Either I went too far forwards, or my snowboard was too short, but I went over the handlebars. I started tumbling, head over heels, my worst case scenario, and I didn't know what was going to happen next. But somehow, thank you, universe, I ended up landing on my snowboard and just continued riding. I kept my balance. And I ended up coming down the bottom. Thank you. I ended up getting to the bottom, and the boys down there all had their arms in the air cheering, yeah! I mean, maybe they thought I'd done it on purpose. Some Australian, snowboard trick or something. But I came to a stop, and I just burst into tears. The emotions were overwhelming. And, oh my gosh, it was just an incredible moment, and I realized they weren't tears of fear, they were tears of joy, right? And I realized that you find courage in the go, not before, not after, but in the moment that you move. Now, I learned a few things that day. My fear tolerance expanded because I'd done run after run after run, and I encourage you all to do things that scare you, because the more we do it, our fear tolerance will increase. And I also discovered something really powerful, adrenaline, right? We all have it, and it's the bridge between fear and courage. If we can embrace that adrenaline, it's like a superpower. I mean, it helps you focus, it gives you strength. It didn't paralyze me, it powered me. So when you hear fear whisper, not you. Adrenaline says, watch me. Now, for some of you, you've got all the excuses. Every time you get scared, who has an excuse of why they can't do it? I think we've all been there. So let me tell you quickly about my friend SJ. She was the same age, a skier like me, same Aussie accent, except she had gone in for surgery to fix a routine nerve in her neck, and she woke up a quadriplegic. She was grieving her life, her identity, her body, and wondering how and if she could be a good mum. Now, luckily, she discovered the sport of sit skiing. It's like kind of like a wheelchair, but instead of having wheels, you sit in it, it has a ski underneath. And that's my best friend, Paul. Paul was certified to drive them, and it didn't take long for them to team up. Now, I met them for lunch one day, and I was telling her about my heli skiing experience in Alaska, and she looked at me and said, I used to dream of doing that. And I looked back at her and I said, well, you still can. You just need a MacGyver mindset to believe that anything is possible. You can figure it out. You just need to adapt. What's the key?
Mindset.
Mindset, exactly. And it took 2 years and a lot of logistics, but SJ went heli skiing in Alaska. And the best part is she took her 10-year-old son with her. I mean, that is a super mum, and I got to watch a dream come true. So remember, when the going gets tough, the adaptable get going. Now, a few years later, I actually started getting headaches, and the scans showed that I was diagnosed with brain aneurysms. And for those of you who don't know, brain aneurysm is where you get pressure in the arteries in your brain, and most people don't find them until they rupture and they have a stroke or die. And this was a really, really scary time in my life. I couldn't believe this was happening. Just like SJ, I was grieving my life, my identity, my goals. And I remember the scariest time was the night before my surgery, and I was overwhelmed with fear. I was in fight, angry with the situation. I was in flight. I wanted to run away, but that surgery was the only thing that could save my life. And I was in freeze, frozen on the bathroom floor, lying in a puddle of my own tears. What if I die? What if I have a stroke? What if I need full-time care? And then I remembered what I tell my students to help them find courage. Rather than focusing on the what-ifs, focus on the facts. And the facts are, I be brave, I be strong, I be lucky, and I be loved. I be grateful. I am the storm. And I chanted that over and over and over again until I woke up in ICU. Now, when I woke up in ICU, my husband gave me a kiss on the cheek and handed me something special. He handed me the world's smallest kite. It was made out of tissue paper and toothpicks. And I flew that kite above my head, and it made me smile, and it gave me some joy, and made me realise that I am still here. I've been so worried, how could I still be a Adrenogen if I couldn't do my sports? And I realised in that moment, I remembered that Tony Robbins had said, is there more knowledge in a library or a graveyard? I didn't want to take my stories and knowledge to the graveyard, so I made a decision right then and there. I was going to share my story. I was going to write a book. I was going to speak on stages, and that's what I'm doing here today. I've written 2 books. I'm speaking to you. I'm sharing my story, and and I've got something else that's new, a new superhero outfit. It's not a wetsuit, it's not my ski gear, but it's a pink power suit. Thank you so much. You know that sometimes the hardest climb is the one within. And I just want to leave you with one last thing. If you could all just stand up and let's finish what we started. Stand up for me. And so, are you?
Ready.
You are ready. What's the key?
Mindset.
You have the mindset. Now what?
Go.
Yes, go forward, go scared, go anywhere. Because on the other side of fear is you. Bold, brilliant, and unstoppable. My name is Jennie Milton. They call me Adrenogen. Thank you very much.